Let everyone know that's Sahib, by the way, who's just walked in. Sahib is the one I introduced earlier, and he'll be assisting Agha Wahidi. The procedure is very straightforward in Medina. It's just like arriving in any other airport in the world. You go to immigration first and you do your passports. Straight after that, there's a very small desk because there's not that many people where they collect the Hajj drafts. And then the Ministry of Health will just check, that's incorrect. Check, will not check, they will check, C-H-E-C-K. We'll check your meningitis certificate and make sure that that's correct, and then we'll get on a coach to the hotel. Last year, I think it took about 3.5 hours. The year before, it took 2 hours. In Medina, we're staying at the Marriott Hotel. We stayed there last year. It's very comfortable. It's very pleasant. The service is very nice. Everybody was very happy staying there. So we decided to use it again. That's an image of one of the rooms. In terms of location, this side here of the Haram is Jantul Baqi. So that line would be Jantul Baqi. We are on the opposite side of Jantul Baqi over here. And from here to there, it's about a 10, 12-minute walk. But they have shuttle buses that run as well that take you up to this point here. That's just a non-satellite version. Okay, so in Medina, now, again, because we're arriving on the 1st of Dhul Hijjah this year, it's very important that we cover the Hajj Manasik in Medina, because in the past we arrive in Medina on 25th of Dhul Hijjah, and then we move to Makkah on the 1st we arrive on 25th of Dhul Qa'dah, and then we move to Makkah on 1st of Dhul Hijjah, so we have plenty of time to cover the Hajj Manasik in Makkah. This year we don't have that luxury. So Medina is going to be very important that all the Hajj aspects are covered. So the program there will be daily lectures with Sheikh Arif, and he will be covering the spiritual aspects of Hajj. In the morning, for all the men, we will have a ziyarah with Haji Osama, and the men will really need to group round him because Osama tends to really incite the Wahhabis. They don't like it that one voice tends to then overpower the whole Jantul Baqi, and everybody starts listening. And anybody who's been for Hajj before will remember how Osama tends to attract a crowd, and it gets very big very quickly. So we generally have to stand around him to protect him. And then in the evening, we will be we'll go to the Haram every day with the whole group, ladies and men, where Osama will recite the ziyarah, he will recite the musib of the Ahl Bayt, and we'll probably have some skirmishes with the Wahhabis, but that's all part of the experience. Okay. Then we'll have in Medina a daily session with Sheikh Shumali covering the jurisprudential aspects of Hajj. So we're splitting in spiritual and jurisprudential, and those will be how they'll be split. We'll go for the outside ziyarah on the 30th of October, so 2 days after arriving in Medina. The departure to Makkah will be on the 5th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the last day for departures from Medina. On the 5th, as per Ministry of Hajj rules, by the 5th, every Hajji must leave Medina to go to Makkah. So it's going to be busy. It's going to be very busy in Masjid Shajara. It's going to be very busy at the checkpoints. So we need to be ready at 1 o'clock sharp. And this is more important this year than it ever has been in any previous year because of how busy that day is. We'll check out of the hotel by 1. Everybody will be on the buses, and you will have to wait on the buses. And the reason why you have to wait is because the Ministry of Hajj will not release the passports of the Hujjaj until they have every single Hajji seated on the bus. And almost every single year, we get a little bit delayed because one person will disappear to go to the toilet, but the Ministry of Hajj official won't allow that bus to be released until every single person is seated, then he's counted them. Once he's counted them, we can do what we want, but until he counts everybody and checks everybody, we have to be patient. It is a time where you have to be patient, but you get used to it. It's good practice for getting patient for the rest of Hajj. The seating on the coaches for that journey from Medina to Makkah is pre-allocated by the Ministry of Hajj. So they will provide lists and they will stick it on the bus, and that's the bus you have to sit on. No choices, unfortunately. We'll then depart the hotel and we have to go to a checkpoint where they will check our passports, they'll check all the formalities have been completed properly before they allow us to go to Masjid Shajara. We try and clear that as quickly as possible. And usually we've been quite lucky in that we have cleared it quite quickly, so we've had a couple of hours, 3 hours spare at Masjid Shajara. But 1 year it took a lot longer and we didn't get to Masjid Shajara until just a few minutes before Maghrib. So, you don't need to ask why we're wasting time in Shajara. We're preparing in advance to make sure that we don't get delayed beyond Maghrib. We'll do our niyyah in Masjid Shajara, but because of the rules which don't allow men to travel under cover or under shade in ihram in the daytime, we can't leave Masjid Shajara until after Maghrib. The plan is that we will, and you'll see all the Shias there, the Jamaat namaz goes on with the main Jamaat Masjid Shajara, but because it's not quite time for the Shias yet, all the Shias tend to wait, and then as soon as they disappear, there's a huge big Shia Jamaat namaz in Masjid Shajara. Everybody does their niyyah, and then we go. And we need to go as quickly as possible after that, because that journey to Makkah can be a very long one. It's not like Umrah. It's not your 4 hour, 3.5 hour, 4 hour ride. It's a long journey. The reason why it's a long journey is because we leave Masjid Shajara, and to get to Makkah, there's various checkpoints on the way. It can take 8 to 10 hours. We'll try and do it as quickly as possible, but we are subject to the mercy of the Saudi authorities. When we arrive in Makkah, there's a checkpoint, a taftish. Sorry, can everybody just come squeeze in a bit more, because I think we've got a few more people coming in. At that taftish point, the record time was half an hour. We had a lady, the wife of Zain Habib. He's here somewhere. So Zain's wife said she has a nadhar, which she does, and when she does that nadhar, whatever she asks always happens. So when we arrived there, I told her this is going to be 3 hours, and she said, I've made a nadhar for half an hour, and I'm not joking, we were out in half an hour. So get hold of that nadhar, whatever she does, whatever secret it is, and you do it on her behalf this year. 1 year, however, it took about 5 hours to clear that point, because what happened was one clever Saudi official decided that he'd got all these bags of passports, and he just assumed they're all one group. So he just tipped them out onto the floor, one by one, bag by bag, and then he said, right, separate your men and your women, or whatever had to be done. And we said, these aren't all our passports, you've mixed up about 20 groups. So it took hours to sort that all out, and unfortunately, you can't control these things, because they don't listen to you when you tell them don't tip the bag. They'll say, what do you mean don't tip the bag? We know what we're doing, and they tip the bag. So we'll try and do that as quickly as possible, but again, it can. So prepare for a 14-hour journey. It could be a pretty lengthy journey. Now, if we leave Masjid Shajara at 8 o'clock in the evening, that means we're going to arrive in Makkah at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's not ideal, but we'll have to manage that. Hopefully, though, last year we arrived at about 4 o'clock in the morning into the building in Aziziyah. So once we clear that checkpoint, we'll head to Aziziyah. Right, this is the location of our building. So our building is here in the Aziziyah district. This whole area is Aziziyah, which is a suburb of Makkah. This is the Haram over here. It's about 5 kilometers from our building to the Haram, according to Google Earth. Yeah? Now, there is a tunnel in between Aziziyah and the Haram, because these are mountains here. So you can walk, and people have walked. It'll take you about an hour, but you'll also get very bunged up lungs because of the amount of pollution in that tunnel. So it's much easier just to go by car. The advantage of Aziziyah is its proximity to Mina. This is Shari' Sidqi over here, which literally takes you to Jamarat, which is here. And it takes about 10 or 15 minutes to walk from our building to Jamarat. And in Hajj time, getting cars to go from the Haram to Mina is very difficult. So our proximity to Mina there really helps. We can just go in stone, come back to our building. You don't have to wait hours and hours in the chaos trying to get to and from the Haram. Right. And this is just a map of where we are now. See these two roads here? This is the road that we come on. You go up to here, down here, and this is our building, literally on this road here. And it's marked by a hotel called, I've forgotten the name. What's the name of the hotel? Sinaf Inn. Yeah, it's called Sinaf Inn. And there's the French Saudi Bank, which is just over here. So these are the two corners, Sinaf Inn and the French Saudi Bank in Aziziyah. All taxis know it. There's a McDonald's over here. If you can't remember that, just tell them McDonald's Aziziyah, and it's literally here, and you're in the building. Right. Now, when we have arrived in Makkah, we appreciate that some people will be tired and some people won't be. So we will have two options. We will have the option of an immediate departure to the Haram for Umrah Tamattu, or we will have the option of departing after Asr for those who want to rest before going. Now, this year, we are going to ask everybody in Medina to decide which option, and then we are not going to allow you to change afterwards. And the reason we're going to do that is because every year we plan for the two options, and then people decide on arrival, as he said, nope, I'm feeling energetic, I want to go. Well, it makes logistics very difficult because then you can't organize who's going in which group. So this year we're going to be asking everybody to think about it carefully and decide in Medina whether you want to go for the immediate departure or whether you want to go for the late departure. We will then allocate everybody accordingly into 5 groups of 32. They will be taken by Sheikh Arif, Sheikh Shumali, Hajj Osama, me, and Habib. In terms of transportation from Aziziyah to the Haram, I think we've got a slide later on, but we'll ignore it if that comes up. The actual journey by road is only about 5 to 10 minutes. So if you went in Umrah, from Haram to Aziziyah, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes. During the days of Hajj, obviously, it's very busy because of Mina. Prior to Hajj, it gets progressively busier every day from the 1st through to the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. We are arriving in Mecca, we're leaving on the 5th from Medina and arriving into Mecca on the 6th of Dhul Hijjah. By that day, the roads will be quite busy, but in the evenings, they won't be. So if you're going to the Haram at 10:30 at night, it's usually pretty quick to get to the Haram. And as long as you return back an hour before Fajr, then you'll get back pretty quickly as well. In the daytime, it can take 40 minutes, it can take 20 minutes, it can take an hour. You'll familiarize yourself with the roads, and there are certain roads you can tell the driver to go, which are quicker and that all drivers don't know, because what happens in Hajj is drivers come from all over Saudi Arabia just to earn money during Hajj. The Makkah local drivers know the roads very well and they can get you to the Haram quickly. We also will give everybody an Iranian Hajj ID because our group is with Muastat Iran. We are with the Iranian Hajj organization. We're not with the European Hajj organization in terms of the official government. I don't have it. It's upstairs. Okay. I'll show everybody a copy of what that looks like. Now, with that ID card, you can use the Iranian buses that run between Aziziyah and the Haram. Those are free. If you want to take your own car, then the best way is to get a few people together. You'll pay between 20 and 30 riyals on those days. So if you have 4 people, you can split the cost. You also have shared buses. People will be shouting there. You'll just, as people are driving, you'll be hearing people say, Haram, 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 Haram. You just join. It's 5 riyals, 10 riyals maximum. Now, after we've completed the Umrah, we'll give everybody time to rest. And then after Maghrib, we'll have a session with Sheikh Arif on the spiritual aspects of Hajj. And usually on the first day in Makkah, we don't have any programs. But because this year we're so limited with our time, we have to have a session that day. And then at 10:30, Hajj Osama will take everybody to the Haram, where he has a dua program on the roof. We did have a slide for that, so I've covered that already. Okay. On the 7th of Dhul Hijjah, we'll have a morning session with Sheikh Shumali after Dhuhr to cover the jurisprudential aspects of Hajj, and then the evening after Maghrib again with Sheikh Arif, and at 10:30, because that day is Thursday, we'll have Dua Kumail in the Haram with Osama. The 8th of Dhul Hijjah is the day we leave to go to Arafah. That's the evening we leave to go to Arafah. So we'll have a session with Sheikh Shumali in the morning, or after Dhuhr, to cover the final jurisprudential issues that need to be covered. It's time for anybody who has any last-minute questions to cover that, and we'll have a final logistics session as well at that point, so that everybody's entirely familiar with what we're doing. After Maghrib, most of the Sunni people leave to go to Mina for what they call Yawm al-Tarwiyah during the day of 8th of Dhul Hijjah. So the Haram tends to be a lot less crowded. Even though Yawm al-Tarwiyah is actually mustahab for Shias as well, most Shias don't go. Although Sheikh Bahmanpur last year and a couple of other people decided to do it, and they enjoyed it, but it was a difficult walk then for them the next day from Mina to Arafah. So we'll try and go to the Haram after Maghrib where it's quiet. Everybody can spend a bit of time there. It'll be probably the quietest day you see the Haram in the entire Hajj. It'll be relatively quiet there. Still busy, but relatively quiet. And then everybody can make their niyyah for ihram of Hajj. And then we'll proceed back to Aziziyah. We always try and leave for Arafah from Aziziyah as late as possible because Arafah has no facilities, the tents are not great, there's lots of mosquitoes. Sheikh Arif once said... No, sorry, there's tents in Arafah, but they're not, it's not great, it's not like Mina tents, they're not very comfortable, they're okay. Sheikh Arif once told us, he said that Allah made an announcement, he said, oh mosquitoes, there will be a day for you each year where you can feast. He said when that was told to them millions of years ago, people started losing their faith and disbelieving. But the elders said, you who are faithful, the day will come. And those faithful ones, they get their meal every year and they really feast because, it doesn't come for another year for them. So it's not great in Arafah, but it's part of the Hajj experience. And Sheikh Arif, by the way, and trust me when I say this, he told people 2 years ago, he was joking, but he said you cannot, he told that whole story and he said, so Allah has given them such an honor, the mosquitoes, and he was joking, but he says it in that kind of tone that Sheikh Arif says things. They said that when they land on you, you can't even deny them that rizq that Allah's promised them, so you can only move them from one place to another. So you had all these people who were letting the mosquitoes bite them through the night of Arafah. I was telling them that it's not true, he was joking, but of course Sheikh Arif was fast asleep and everybody was worried about their Hajj. So they allowed themselves to get bitten. Don't listen to him, he was messing around. And Sheikh Arif does joke, yeah? So if something sounds a bit bizarre, just ask him and he'll tell you I was joking. Right. So we moved to Arafah as late as possible. Just switch this off. Habib, that's Sheikh Arif, can you just give him a call? Right. We depart for Arafah as late as possible on that Friday, which is the 4th of November. And then we spend the night in the tent in Arafah. Hopefully we'll get there by about 2, 3 in the morning, so you can get 3 hours sleep before Fajr or 2 hours sleep before Fajr. But also it means that you can relax in the building in Aziziyah and beds that are comfortable. You'll need your sleeping bags there. We will go and mark our tents out before everybody arrives, so you'll see big Hajj tourist flags there. If you want soap, then make sure you take your simple soap that day with you. In Arafah, the toilet facilities are not great, so we try and keep things to light meals. Some people like to take Imodium to not have to use the bathrooms at all, but Shabniz's husband told us a couple of years ago that's a bad thing to do, so it's best just to eat light. So breakfast is literally light. It's bread, jam, soft cheese and tea. Then, 30 minutes before Dhuhr, Sheikh Arif will introduce the day. He'll go through the spiritual aspects of the day. He'll cover the kind of things that we need to be doing. It's a motivational session before the A'mal of Arafah starts. We then pray Dhuhr and we start the A'mal of Arafah immediately. We have Dua Arafah, we'll have the Ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein for the day of Arafah, and we'll have the Majlis for Muslim, the children of Muslim on that day. And then after that we serve lunch. So lunch is at about 3 o'clock. And lunch is, again, it's usually quite a simple affair. It's rice and chicken or rice and beans and something quite light. And then the remainder of the day is left for everybody to be able to engage in self-reflection, in self-worship, in alone time worship. And people will then walk away from the tent, go and find their own private spots and really engage, because that's what Arafah is about. We then have to go to Muzdalifah. Now Muzdalifah, again, we try and depart as late as possible, because we depart Makkah as late as possible because the facilities in Arafah are not as good as the building, but the facilities in Muzdalifah are nowhere near as good as Arafah. In fact, Arafah becomes the 5-star hotel. One alim once told us, said, this is when you start appreciating the levels of Jannah. So in Arafah, it's a tough night. Women get it easy, men don't. The reason for that is that women will only spend a few minutes in Muzdalifah because they don't have to stay there until from dawn to sunrise like the men do. So they will stay there for a few minutes, they'll do what's called wuquf ihtirari, and then they will move to the Jamarat and stone at night, because that's permissible for them. And it's not an excuse, it's not a loophole, it's actually something that's permissible for women. But we have to be prepared to walk from Muzdalifah. It's a rough night, and I think we've got a slide here. And the reason why it's a rough night is because there is nothing. There's just lots of lights and people everywhere, and it's tough. The toilets are crowded and have queues that last an hour. If you need to use the bathroom, you literally will have to queue for an hour. It's not a great place, but that's part of Hajj, and Sheikh Arif will obviously cover that in the spiritual aspects of Hajj, because actually Muzdalifah is one of the most spiritual events in the entire Hajj. It's the time where Allah says in the Quran that you have to, in this place, remember Him. So it's a great spiritual experience. It's a tough physical one, but the two tend to go hand in hand. Anybody who's sick, anybody who's old from the men will also be able to join the women. That's allowed, again, by all the jurists. It's very important in Muzdalifah that you don't get lost. It's very confusing, Muzdalifah. I mean, you're talking about massive open areas with no identifying marks, and you will not know where you're going if you lose the group. So you need to really stick together at that time. Find buddies, find companions, and make sure you're always looking out for each other. We don't run things like some groups do with you know, where everybody has to walk four in a line stuff. You know, we let you walk in the way you want to, but you need to look after yourselves there. You don't need to collect stones in Muzdalifah. We provide stones for you before Hajj. So before we leave to go for Arafah, you'll all have your stones ready. So you don't need to worry about collecting stones. Some people who want to ceremonially do that, they can drop the stones they've collected and re-pick them up again. And it's allowed, by the way. This is not a loophole. The rule says you just have to pick stones from within the haram. The stones are from within the haram. It doesn't say when you have to pick them. Okay. The day of Eid, the 10th. So after spending that night in Muzdalifah, we have to spend between dawn and sunrise. That's the wajib part. And in fact, it's one of the parts that's so essential of Hajj for men that actually you can miss Arafah and your Hajj can still be valid, but you can't miss Muzdalifah. So if you miss Arafah, you can still make it up by being in Muzdalifah. If you miss Muzdalifah, your Hajj is out. So it's very important for all the men to be in Muzdalifah. We spend between dawn and sunrise, but we'll start walking a bit at dawn so that at sunrise we are already stationed by the border of Muzdalifah. So as soon as the sun rises, it's literally like a race. I mean, you'll just see people rushing forward. And that's how it works. We'll stand there and we'll wait, and as soon as sunrise comes, we'll move. And that's a long walk from Muzdalifah to the Jamarat. It'll be quicker for the women. The reason why it's much longer for the men is because after sunrise, everybody's walking. So it's very congested. It's also very easy to get lost at that point. So again, we have to be really precise about staying together. We'll get to Jamara. We only have to stone one that day. It's a unique experience. And last year, one of the bits of feedback we got that people really didn't realize how prepared they needed to be for that. I suppose for people who've been before, it's normal now, but it's tough that first day of Jamara. It's quite scary. We had this one guy with us. I mean, he's like 6'4". He's big built, and he came out of Jamara shaking. I mean, he really was, you know, he said, I've never experienced anything like this. So just be prepared for that. It's a tough one. You'll get hit with stones on your head because people stand this far, and Jamara is further than that wall, and they'll try and stone from here and hit it. And obviously they don't. They'll just hit the person that's standing in front of them. So you get hit, you'll lose your glasses, you might lose your ihram, you'll definitely lose your champals. So that's what happens on that first day. It's part of the experience, but you're prepared for it, so hopefully expectations have been managed there. After stoning, we have walkie-talkies, which are long distance. Now, Al-Wahidi will go to the place where the Qurbani is done, and he'll be waiting there overnight. Are you doing Hajj this year, Al-Wahidi? Okay. So Al-Wahidi doesn't usually do Hajj just so that he can manage the group. So he'll go at night, he'll leave the women, he'll go with the women, and then he'll leave the women and go to the place where the sheep are killed, and he'll wait there for the men. Now once we've stoned, we'll have a list, and we will walkie-talkie and say, this one is done, and Al-Wahidi will we'll say list 1 to 10 is done, and he will get those 10 sheep killed, and then we'll tell those people, yours is done, so you can go for halaq. We'll then take anybody who wants to go for halq to get that done. Anybody who wants to taqsir, will do it then immediately and go back to the building. The women will be already in the building, because as soon as they stone at about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll return to the building as Aziziyah, they can relax, they're comfortable. Once we've killed a sheep for them, they will then go back to Mina to do their taqsir. Now, after that, the main part of the Hajj is finished, but you still have to return to Mina, and you still have to stone the Jamarat on the 11th and the 12th of Dhul Hijjah. Now you have a choice according to Ayatul Sistani and some of the other Maraja. Ayatul Khoi doesn't allow the flexibility of this, but we'll cover that in the jurisprudential rules. But you have a choice of either doing Mabit in Mina, which is staying in Mina either between Maghrib and midnight or midnight and Fajr, or you have the choice of going to the Haram, but the condition is you must spend all your time in the haram in ibadah. You can't engage in anything else but ibadah. Whereas in Mina, you can do what you want. You can sleep, you can talk, you can relax. So you have a choice of that. Now, increasingly, it's becoming more and more popular to go for option 2, which is a'mal in the haram. That's simply because most people have to do their tawaf, their sa'i and tawaf nisa for Hajj. So if you went to the haram, you would just spend your night in ibadah doing that, because that's considered to be ibadah. So you'd do that and you'd have your a'mal finished, and also you would not have to stay in Mina overnight. Of course, Mina is mustahab, so people like to choose, but that'll be a choice that we'll be asking everybody to think about and give us before we leave to go for the Hajj days. In Mina, we run 2 sessions, and this will literally be, we'll put up 2 lists, and it'll be first come, first serve. You have to decide whether you're going to go on the 6 o'clock, the Maghrib to midnight, or the midnight to Fajr. Because the tents in Mina, they're really small, and for some reason the Saudis think you can fit 20 people into a tent that's actually designed for 10. So we have to split up the group into 2 groups for those people who want to go to Mina. We'll put up the lists, we'll tell you that they're going up at, for example, 7 o'clock on this day. So whoever's there, and usually there is a queue in advance waiting for that list to go up, just puts their names down. For those people who want to go to the haram, we'll have a separate list so you can tell us that you're doing that. Make sure you have the shoes for Jamrah on the 11th and 12th. Very, very convenient, and you don't get your toes trodden on. Now we are in the Iranian section in Mina, which is about a 25-minute walk from the tents to the Jamarat. We've covered the 2 shifts already. Okay. On the last day of Hajj, which is the 12th of Dhul Hijjah, everybody must be inside Mina until Zawal, which is about 12 o'clock. You can only leave Mina after Zawal. So we'll be waiting by the tunnel to exit, not near the Jamarat, because that's where the stampedes usually happen, but on the King Khalid tunnel. And you'll see all the Shia groups waiting there, because they're all waiting. And that tunnel is a wonderful experience. You'll hear every single Shia chanting through that tunnel, nasheeds, matam. It's a nice experience. And we'll all leave together at 12 o'clock, and that will be Hajj. That will be Hajj done. Anybody that hasn't completed their a'mal of Hajj will then have to do that between that day and the final departure back to London. The people who are moving on to the Meridian, they will leave Aziziyah on the 10th of November at 6 o'clock. And then they'll be staying there for 6 nights. The Meridian is literally on the doorstep of the Haram. When me and Agha Wahidi went there to do the hotel, it took us 10 minutes from leaving your room to being in the mataf of the Haram. So it's very, very convenient there. Less than 10 minutes. It's very quick. And the people who are going to the Meridian will be then accompanied by Sheikh Arif. Sheikh Shumali and Sheikh Osama will be leaving with the rest of the group. We then have again 3 departures. We have the Egypt Air departure. Now, the Ministry of Hajj stipulate that everybody who's leaving Makkah to go back to their countries must leave Makkah a minimum of 10 hours before their flight time, which is bizarre, because flights tend to be delayed by many, many hours after that. But that's one of the rules that the Ministry of Hajj have. So this is for all airlines except Saudia. Saudia is slightly less restricted. So for the Egypt Air flight, the flight departs at 3:30 in the morning on the 13th. So they will be leaving, that group, at 5:30 on the 12th of November to go towards Makkah. And again, the process is you leave the building, you go to a checkpoint, you pick up all your passports, and then you move from the checkpoint to the Hajj terminal. All flights now, in the past they used to still have flights from the normal terminal, but now all return flights are Hajj terminal. So you get to experience the Hajj terminal, which some people say is part of the Hajj, so we're not denying you that opportunity. It's not as bad though going out of Hajj terminal than it is coming into Hajj terminal. The second group, the Gulf Air, which is the bulk of the group, that flight leaves at 1:30 on the 12th of November. Now, because again you've got the 10-hour rule, it's 03:30. We always try and play with the Ministry of Hajj and make excuses and try and do things to delay that, but just be prepared that 10 hours is the rule. It depends on how strict they are and what we can get away with. So that group will be leaving at about 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning on the 12th to go to Hajj terminal. The Saudi Air flight, which is going to Damascus, will be leaving at 5:05 on the 11th of November, so that's 9:30, because Saudi Air flights are allowed 8 hours instead of 10. So, right, some important considerations before. Travel insurance is compulsory. Everybody must have travel insurance, and that's essential. We can't provide you with travel insurance, but there are plenty of websites out there. Make sure you check cover levels, that you have sufficient level of cover, that you're being covered specifically for Hajj. If you have any questions, make sure you call and ask the companies you're dealing with for your travel insurance. If things go wrong, believe me, you don't want to be chucked into a Saudi hospital with thousands of other Hujjaj. It's going to be chaotic, and you'll probably die anyway. So have insurance, because that way you can be flown to Riyadh or something into a nice American hospital and treated properly. But you can only do that if you have insurance, so make sure you have it. Please take cash with you, as I said earlier, because traveler checks are useless. If you have US dollars, don't go out and buy US dollars, but if you have US dollars, then the riyal is pegged against the US dollar, which means the rate doesn't fluctuate. So it just means that you know exactly how many riyals you're getting. If, of course, you take pounds, you'll be subject to the rate fluctuations. But don't go back and buy dollars, because you're still subject to fluctuations by buying dollars. So only if you have US dollars, take them. If not, then that's fine. Now, in terms of credit and debit cards, we're not got shares in Sainsbury's or Nationwide or anything, but these are just useful tips. The Sainsbury's Gold credit card allows you to take out cash and doesn't charge you a cash advance fee. And on top of that, they offer you spot rate on foreign exchange, which means that you probably get a better rate taking money out of a cash machine than you'll get. In fact, you will get a better rate from taking out money from a cash machine if you have that card than you will having going to the money exchange. Sainsbury's don't charge you a cash advance fee, but they do charge you interest from the day you take the money out. So the best way to deal with that is take out a Sainsbury's card and just put in £1,000, for example, put in £1,000 in, pay it. They don't like it. They tell you that they don't, but you can do that. Just pay £1,000, and so you have a credit balance. And when you take money out, you're getting it at spot rate, and you're not getting charged a cash advance fee. That's a very useful card to have. The post office credit card also does spot rate on payments, but doesn't give you that cash advance facility that Sainsbury's does. And if you want to take a debit card, then the Nationwide debit card used to be free, but now I think it's 1% they charge, which still works out pretty good in terms of taking money out of the cashier. Other debit cards, you'll get hit badly on the rates. You're better off changing cash. Now, it's very important that you spend time before going for Hajj, especially this year, reading and researching. Every year, we give out feedback forms every year, and one of the things that we always find from the feedback forms is that people say, I wish I'd known about that before because I found out about it too late. And often in the reflection session, people who point out they did something and other people realize that they didn't because they didn't know about it really feel quite gutted there. So try and read as much as you can before going to Hajj. Try and listen to as many lectures as you can before going to Hajj, because the worst thing will be that you missed out something which, I don't know, has a reward of guaranteed seeing your place in paradise before you die, and you didn't do it. When it was reciting, for example, I know, I'm making this up, 10 salawat or something like that. So read in advance. I clearly haven't read, you can tell, because I don't know any examples to give you, but that's what we have the alims for. And then at least you know exactly what you need to be doing, and you don't feel that regret afterwards. We have the Hajj Tours website where we have a number of lectures and resources which you should use. We're going to be uploading last year's lectures in the course of this week, so you'll have access to all of those as well. The ones from the year before are all on YouTube. We have ID badges for everybody. You'll get one badge like this, which is a Hajj Tours ID card. It has your name, your passport details. It has my contact details, Al-Wahidi's contact details, and Habib's contact details in Saudi Arabia. And on the back, this one doesn't have that example, but it has the addresses of our locations in Makkah and Medina. So that'll have your photo, your name, and your information. These are useful because if anything happens to you, people can help you if you have one of these. And God forbid somebody dies, then we'll be able to identify you, because the Saudis like to bury people quickly, and people who aren't identified are just buried in the Saudi Wahhabi way. So wear these at all times. They're very, very useful for making sure. It's never happened, but God forbid it does. That's useful. And everybody will get an Iranian ID badge like this, which is you'll see all Iranian Hujjaj will be wearing this. You can strap the two together. We'll give everybody lanyards, and literally you can just put one behind the other. These are what you'll need for the buses. Usually in Medina on the Duai Komail program, they only allow Iranians into the program, and they check these badges. They've become very strict on that. But unfortunately, we're not there this year on a Thursday, so that won't be needed for that. In terms of mobile phones, it's very useful to have a local SIM card there, simply because you can call each other. You can communicate with organizers of the group with ease, and people can call you from abroad, and you know it's cheaper than receiving calls on a roaming SIM card. You get a SIM card called World SIM, which is owned by one of our Shia brothers called Arif Chandu. You can go to their website, World SIM, Google it, and you get a UK number, but it doesn't cost you anything to receive calls on that. So you can roam and receive calls for free on that, which is very useful. We can provide SIM cards for people, but we will be asking you to tell us that you want SIM cards in advance of Hajj. Not today, we're not going to keep any lists today, but between now and departure for Hajj, if you tell us that you want us to organize a SIM card for you, then we will do that, and you'll need to pay in advance to have that. Now, last year, a lot of people didn't do that, but then when we arrived there, they started asking for SIM cards. It became very chaotic, so this year we won't do that. If you don't tell us in advance that you want a SIM card, then you'll have to go and get one yourself when you're there. For those people that do want SIM cards, a SIM card only costs about 75 riyals, about £15. They do have packs, which they sell for about 120 riyals, where you get a cheap Samsung mobile and a SIM card. So if you guys, anybody wants that, decide in advance and tell us by email or by phone between now and Hajj, and we will have all of those ready for you when you arrive. And that is that. If anybody has any questions, I'll take questions between now and 11:20, and then we'll take a coffee break at 11:40, sorry, and then we'll take a coffee break, and then we will have Sheikh Arif's session starting at 12 o'clock exactly. Yes?
Remember you said that people, on your feedback forms,
Yeah.
the reflections, do you think you'd be reading out some of them so we know what about missing out on something?
No, it's, that's something that comes up in the reflection session that Sheikh Shamali runs, not in the feedback forms. But the feedback forms is more about sort of logistical issues where people are suggesting, their ideas for improvement. Yes?
I tried to take notes as fast as I could as you were going, but I wondered if you could give us a print out of all the programs.
Yeah, we'll stick the slides on the website and you can just download them. Yeah?
Can you tell us about Ihrams? Where do we get that?
Right, Ihrams you can buy in Medina. If you have Ihrams already, you can take them. Ihrams are, it's the one thing they have in plenty of supply in Hajj. I mean, you have choices of material, of cotton, of synthetic, of China, of India, it's loads of ihram there, and you can buy them very cheap for between 10 and 20 pounds for a pack of ihram there. Yes.
Maybe a silly question, but can we slaughter the sheep ourselves, or do we do that for
No,
us?
there's no such thing as a silly question in Hajj, because people don't know, but no, you can't, unfortunately. It's too difficult to manage logistically, and because Agha Wahidi goes there at night, after going with the women, which you can't do because you have to do your wuquf in Muzdalifah, because we like to get the sheep killed as soon as we can in the morning so people can get out of ihram as quickly as possible.
So in terms of using mobile phone, is there any place in Hajj where you can't use it? You're not allowed to use a mobile phone?
No, there's no place in Hajj where you can't use a mobile phone. You may have network signal issues. They're getting better. They've got all these mobile trucks now with extra signal boosters and stuff, but from time to time you may not get a signal because of the volume traffic.
About insurance, some of us may want to arrange that as soon as possible. Have you got a list we can take away today of the insurance?
We don't, no. You just need to Google. I mean, there's loads of it, My Money Supermarket and all the other kind of websites that you have out there.
On the travel insurance, is that something the Ministry of Hajj checks when you arrive at?
No. It's something we insist on as a group.
Just with the insurance, not to go for the cheapest policy you find. Make sure that they have a proper medical cover on the insurance, because some of the cheaper ones don't.
Can you suggest any company off the top of your head?
Sorry?
Can you suggest a company off the top of your head who would be suitable?
One that provides good cover is a company called Covermore.
But again, everyone needs to check because policies change, companies change. So make sure you check the cover with these companies, even that company, because we don't know what they have this year, whether it's different to what they have last year. And specifically make sure that you're covered for Hajj, because some travel insurance companies exclude things like Hajj.
What stuff is it that they provide?
I mean, all the providers. We're not going to tell you which ones because we don't want to, tell you something that's incorrect. But you need to do your own research on the travel insurance. Yes, sorry. Can people wait for me to just look at them and identify them to speak, because otherwise we'll start having a bit of a chaos. Yeah.
And take the certificate. How long are they waiting?
Meningitis is usually valid 3 or 5 years, but we have the doctors coming later to do the vaccination, so when they come, we can ask them that question. Yep.
What can we take inside the haram? I was allowed to take a mobile phone. And
Yeah, you can take a mobile phone. They don't like you to take cameras. They don't usually check men. They do check women's bags. So men probably stick them in your pockets and get away with it. Cameras, but no, mobile phones is not a problem. Books is not a problem. You're free to do all of that stuff.
Can I ask you something about the cash?
Yeah.
Have you got arrangement to go and get the cash for it?
No. There's money exchanges everywhere, and you can just literally go and change it.
There's no problem.
There's no issue with money changes inside the
In
area.
terms of taking cash, how much would you recommend someone taking?
It's up to you how much you want to spend. I mean, the only thing that you really need, well, in terms of meals, you get breakfast and dinner, so it's only lunch that you need to worry about. In terms of transportation, all that sort of stuff, it's all covered. So it's really your spending money. You'll need money, obviously, for the transportation, the taxis and stuff, if you're taking taxis between Azizia and the Haram. But apart from that, it's what you want to take in terms of spending money. Most people take about £400 or £500 with them, and that
And
tends
they
to be
ask you
sufficient.
for you all the time, or you can leave in the hotel?
Leave it in the hotel. Make sure you have a lock for your suitcase and stuff, because there's no mini safes there. Yeah. Yes.
What about in terms of bringing water over?
In terms of water.
Yeah, bringing it over.
Oh, Zamzam water. Yeah. Most of the airlines will allow you an allowance to bring back Zamzam water. So and there's people who will be selling it. So I think last year we had. Yeah, you're allowed 10 liters to take away. So we will try and organize that for you if we can, but we'll let you know when we're there. If not,
Extra, can you actually ship that over from there?
we can't arrange that. We can't arrange that. No, but
there are places that do that.
I'm sure there are. But you need to look into that independently. Yeah. Yes.
How much does it cost approximately to get a cab from Azizia to the Haram?
Okay. It varies. I mean, you should be paying no more than 20 to 40 riyals in those days. It can be as cheap as 10 riyals. It depends who you are and how experienced you are in Hajj. But 20 to 40 is about the range. Yeah. Yes.
Ulama will help us for the niyyah and
Yes, of course. Whenever there's any occasion where there has to be niyyah, the alims will announce it. So even in Arafah, through the course of the day in Muzdalifah, we'll bring everybody together. We'll say, this is the niyyah you need to make. And they'll separate the people who are doing Hajj for the first time, people who are doing Hajj Niyaba, people who are doing Hajj Mustahab, people who are doing Hajj Mafad Dhimma. Everybody will be split into, and they'll be told the correct niyyah to do.
So what's the exchange rate?
It's pegged to the dollar at 376. And then the exchange rate varies based on the dollar-pound exchange rate, so you'll need to just check that. It's about 5.7 at the moment, 5.8, I think. Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned that we need to take sweaters or shawls. It get cold at night, or
It can get. I think maybe that's a bit actually out of date. That slide. In the past, because in the last few years it has been winter, so in Medina sometimes it can be a bit chilly in the evenings and stuff. Probably not so necessary this year, actually. I think it's getting quite hot now. Unless you're going to Damascus, it might be a little bit chilly there, but apart from that, it's probably not so necessary this year. Yes?
Sorry. Will Brother Nazim here have to cut all his hair?
Yes, he will, absolutely. Yeah. We had somebody with hair much longer than his 2 years back, and he cut his as well. So, yeah, it's very difficult. He struggled, and then every time he looked in the mirror, he got a bit shocked. He didn't know who was looking back at him.
I know you touched on the subject about the cash, how much it takes. Approximately, how much would you recommend out of pocket expenses you should carry, roughly?
As I said, I can't recommend my recommendation, but on average, people tend to take about £400 or £500, and that tends to see them through. Depends on how much you wanna buy. If you don't want to eat any of the meals with the group and go to McDonald's, or I don't know, something even a bit more luxurious, then obviously you need a lot more if you want to dine at the Hilton for breakfast, lunch and dinner. But if you're dining with us, and it's very limited. We did have somebody, by the way, who did that. He didn't want to eat with the group ever because he's worried about food, so he'd have all his meals at the Hilton at £25 a meal. So depends what you want to do.
Just a haram, can we buy from Medina? Or?
Yeah, in Medina there's loads of shops selling ihram. Literally loads of shops. I mean, you have no problem getting ihram in Medina. Yeah.
And sleeping bags as well, we can buy in Medina?
Sleeping bags, you're probably better off buying them here. You can buy them there, but if you want to make sure you get I mean, these ones, for example, they're nice, they're light, they're comfortable. If you buy them here, you get an opportunity to make sure you get something that's quite, that you've tried and tested beforehand. Buy something you're going to chuck away. Don't spend a fortune on it because they're a headache to carry around. They're much easier just to chuck in the bin afterwards. So buy something cheap and that does the job.
Where did you get that one from?
I have no idea. I think this has been the one we use as the example for years, but and it's still in the plastic. But it's, yeah, I mean, I have no idea where it came from. It was literally, I think, in the first Hajj group we did, that year we organized it for everybody. Somebody supplied it. We don't know who it was. It was a long time back, but it's a pretty bog standard. I mean, there's nothing special. You can pick one of these up in many places. Yes.
Can you just go over when we meant to use shoes or trainers or something?
The time where trainers or shoes are really useful is the 11th and 12th of Dhul Hijjah when you go to Jamarat, because people do tend to jump on each other's feet there, and it just makes it much easier. Although somebody said that it's actually, on the other hand, if you look at it from the flip side, you might hurt people more by wearing those if you step on their toes, so just be careful. But in terms of protecting your feet, also leaving your feet uncovered in Hajj, and I know this because it happens every year, and then usually on the way back I stop in Dubai and have a pedicure, your feet get horrible. I mean, your heels will get all dried up and mess. So it's useful to wear socks and shoes if you can, just to keep your feet protected. Yep. Yes.
Throughout the whole journey, is it flip-flops like Arafat and
Yeah, so in the days of Hajj, when you're in Ihram, your feet have to be uncovered. So you can't really do that with shoes, but they don't have to be the V flip-flops. Lots of different types of flip-flops you can wear, but they do have to be open. Yeah, I'll take you first.
If you get separated from the group, will you have a meeting point, or is it a case of getting back to where you're staying that night?
Right, so for example, when we go for the A'mal in the Haram, on the first day, yes, we'll say if anybody gets lost, this is where you need to meet. In Arafah, in Mina, in Muzdalifah, that's difficult because you can't identify meeting points very easily. You don't even know where your tent is going to be until the day of... The tent is allocated to us in the afternoon before the whole group goes there. So if you get lost at those points, it's going to have to be a case of you have to head back to the building or follow the procedures. But we'll cover that in more detail there. But we'll try and take as many preventative measures as we can to make sure that doesn't happen. Yes?
Can you wear leather shoes?
Yeah, I don't see why not, but that's a question you need to ask in terms of the fiqh aspects with Sheikh Arif.
So, sir, please look the passport. Everybody must leave this what we put, the sign, just the tag. Don't remove, please.
Yeah,
This is very important for us.
The reason why this is very important is because the way it works when we land in Saudi Arabia is the Ministry of Hajj take your passports. They take everybody's passports and then they get put in, imagine, massive passport warehouses. Now, the group leaders then have to go to those places and get their passports out again. That's the way the system works. Now, identifying passports by having to open up every page takes hours, and sometimes passports get lost that way. So we just try and use a different coloring system every year so that we can identify our passports very quickly and take them out. So while you've got your passports in your possession, don't remove those stickers. Anything else? Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll take a break. Was that a? On your visa, you'll see a name which is different to your name, which is your mahram with the relationship. Does anybody have if you ask any of us afterwards, we'll point out where your mahram. If you can't find it, and you ask anybody else, we'll point it out to you. Okay, so we're going to take a 25-minute break, but we do need to resume. Is Sheikh Arif? He's almost here. So we do want to start as soon as Sheikh Arif arrives. Sorry, can I have everybody's attention till I finish speaking? Because we don't want to get delayed again. Right. We'll take 25 minutes break. Can everybody make sure they're back down here at 12 o'clock promptly so that we can resume with the spirituality of Hajj? Okay? There's bathrooms here. two in the basement, one on the ground floor, and there'll be coffee and snacks over here on the ground floor. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.